How we doing, people? Welcome back to the channel. This is another tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to be diving into render settings inside of Unreal Engine 5 so that you guys can take your renders and get them looking as cinematic as possible, making sure everything like lighting, textures, models are at their highest resolution when you hit render, so that then you can get into your edit and really make something special. So let's get into it. So what I've got here is a scene for a little short that I made, that I put out on Instagram and YouTube. That's actually done really well. I think it's got like over 300,000 views at the current time of me recording this. So thank you everyone for the support on that. Thank you so much. I'm blown away by the love. So just thank you. But anyway, let's get right into this. So this is my scene. I've got this shot right here. If I hit play, you kind of see what's going on here, and these are the metahuman rigs. Now obviously I've got everything set up, but now I want to get it out. I want to render it out so that I can then put it in my edit and make it look cool. So how do I do that? Well, see this little button here that looks like one of those clap things. I don't know, I'll put it in somewhere.
Clapperboard.
You're going to click on this, then movie render queue is going to appear. When you click that, if movie render queue does not appear, that will be because you don't have the movie render queue plugin enabled. So what you have to do is click edit, come down to plugins, movie render queue, turn that on. It will ask you to restart. Just click restart and then the scene will load up again, and then you can jump back into it. So I have my render settings here. So first off, this is where you can add things. So press on the plus button and you have all your options. You have different types of exports, different types of rendering, and then your settings. So typically for most of you, you're only going to need a PNG sequence. I will make a advanced version of render settings where I'll go into things like EXRs and cryptomats and AOVs and render layers and things like that. But for this one, it's just about getting our render out as an image sequence as it is so that you guys can put it into your edits. So initially it will have JPEG, get rid of that. We want PNG, just leave it as is. It will usually just have deferred rendering. You can leave it as is as well. Then we're going to start adding some settings. So the first setting you're going to add is something called anti-aliasing. So you would press here, it will be in here, press anti-aliasing. So here we have spatial sample count and temporal sample count. For your renders, depending on what's happening in your render, will affect how many of these that you want. For the majority of us, you're going to want to focus on temporal sample count rather than spatial. If there's any type of movement, you want to go with temporal, because temporal is what's going to allow your motion blur to look more realistic and for everything to just be more coherent and to have less artifacting. If it's a static camera, there's very minimal movement and you're just wanting to make sure that the scene looks as high res as possible, that's where you would focus on spatial sample count. Don't worry about doing both at the same time, because you're just going to unnecessarily increase your render time and there's not going to be that much of a difference. So typically what I go for is 1 and 15. If you go over 8 temporal sample counts, you'll get an error. If I turn this off, you'll get an error. Basically what this is once you go over 8 temporal sample counts, it starts to be thinking about anti-aliasing. All you have to do is just click on this and override anti-aliasing, leave it as is. Okay, 1 and 15. The reason why I've gone with 15 is because, and this is something I learned from William Fauché, I really recommend you checking him out. He's got some great videos. But for some reason, when you put your temporal count as an odd number, the motion blur looks better for some reason. Not quite sure why. William Fauché has a video about his render settings. He goes into way more detail. I recommend checking it out. He kind of explains a bit more as to why, but it just looks a little better. So we're going to go with 1 and 15. I typically don't go over 16 because you're at that point, you're really not going to notice anything and you're just unnecessarily increasing your render time. Leave the anti-aliasing method as none. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on render warm-up frames, and we're going to set our render warm-up count and engine warm-up count to 128 frames. And this basically means that your Unreal Engine is going to render 128 frames and not save them anywhere, but essentially warm itself up. It's essentially like letting Unreal Engine stretch before it runs. And it basically means that things like your particles, so I've got some dust and stuff floating around, it has a chance to spawn before it starts rendering. Because without this, it would just start rendering, and then as I'm rendering, my effects would spawn. So there'd be this weird moment where nothing's there, and we don't want that. We want it there from the get-go. So you set this to 128, it's just going to look better. Make sure that you render warm-up frames. And that's it when it comes to anti-aliasing. Now we're going to go into console variables. So for these console variables, realistically, there's only going to be 3 or 4 that really matter when it comes to your render. The first being screen percentage. Now, basically what this is you're telling Unreal Engine how high resolution to render, and then they're going to shrink that down into the resolution. So right now I've got my resolution set as 1080p, but because my screen percentage is set at 200, it's actually going to render everything at 4K, and then it will take that frame and fit it inside of a 1080p frame, which gives the overall render a higher detail, more crisp look, which gives us more to work with once we have it in our edit. So I recommend doing that, but be careful. If your output is at like 4K or even 8K and you have your screen percentage set to 200, now you're rendering it like 8K or 16K, depending on 4K or 8K. And that can really start to cause some issues for your PC. Trust me, I've tried to do that. My PC just died immediately. It was like, nope, I'm not doing that. So I would recommend like go with the 1080p and then render it 200%. Otherwise, you need to just render it 4K and don't worry about screen percentage. But those are just some things that you can play with. The other ones that I would recommend is motion blur quality, depth of field quality, and then motion blur separable. And these are the values. If you want to use the other console variables that I have here, feel free to use them. I'll leave this up here so you guys can take note of them. But typically those are going to be the main ones, because you want your motion blur to look realistic. You want your depth of field to look realistic, especially, for example, in my scene where I got the prince in the foreground and then I've got the princess as the focus. I don't want him to have those weird Unreal Engine artifacts around the edges of him that sometimes you get with the depth of field, the real-time depth of field inside of Unreal Engine. I want to avoid that, and so using these, it can avoid that properly. Motion blur separable, essentially what this does is it's going to add a second motion blur pass that smooths out the noise of your movement. It's going to be able to understand, for example, if you've got a rapid camera movement and you have the character in the foreground and then the background, it's going to be able to understand better how the motion blur is going to be slightly less on the character and slightly more in the background, and it's not just going to do a blanket motion blur on everything, ultimately leading to higher quality. Now, I will lightly touch on these two, and there's a reason for this. There is an issue with metahuman hair when it comes to depth of field, where you get these weird blurry edges on the hair, and it can be quite annoying. So what I recommend is if you apply this hairstrands.dof depth, essentially what that's going to do is it's going to exclude all hair on metahumans from your depth of field. Now, you want to use this sparingly, because what it means is no hair on any metahuman is going to be affected by depth of field. Now, if you have one character that's in focus and a background that's out of focus, that works great. But if you have a character that's slightly in front or slightly behind and they're supposed to be out of focus, their hair is not going to be, and it's going to look very weird. So use this sparingly and use it combined with hairstrands.compose after translucency, because basically there's still a little bit of artifacting after you turn off the depth of field on the hair. And so you need to apply this console variable to just fix that last bit. But this is a little trick that can just fix the hair issues with the depth of field, but use it sparingly because it's not always going to work. It only works with specific scenes. And then the last one is we're going to use game overrides. And with this, just add it into your scene, add it into your render settings, and then just leave it as is. Don't touch anything. And this is essentially just going to pump everything to the max so that when you render, everything is at its highest resolution and it's going to look really spicy. Okay, well, that's basically everything when it comes to our render settings. Then you come here, you can obviously change your frame rate depending on what you need, typically 24 FPS. If you're trying to go for that cinematic look, you can change your output resolution. You can change the file name format. Usually I just leave that as is. We can change our output directory to a specific place so that our image sequence is in one folder by itself so that it's not confusing. Then after that, we can come here, save the preset, or if you don't have a preset yet, save as, and then just name it whatever you need to. Hit accept, everything's done, and then you hit render local. And there you have it, a really crisp render that's got none of the weird artifacting you might see in your viewport and is at the highest resolution, ready to be put in your edit and then ready to be put out there online for everyone to enjoy. Well guys, I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. It's a quick one and I'm trying to churn these out as fast as possible so that you guys can hopefully make the best content that you desire. And I hope you enjoyed. If you're not subscribed already, consider subscribing. And until next time, in a bit, lads.